Call of Duty Zombies. What once started as a passion project by some developers has become a landmark in the gaming landscape, a series I've been growing up with for the better part of my life. It's also consumed the better part of my life, but that's neither here nor there. After getting fed up with talking to the wall, or to any poor fuck who decided to let me babble on about this stuff while just sitting there wondering, what the hell's a Wonder Waffle? I decided to talk into a microphone, and create this little retrospective into my past, and look at something that made me the man I am today. A schizophrenic. With a mix of nostalgia, self-reflection, and a nagging of Smirnoff, join me on my own personal trip down memory lane to find out what it is that made me fall in love with this series, how I feel it's evolved over the years, and basically anything else I feel like. Welcome to the Zombies Retrospective. I'm not going to start this off by getting into the history of Call of Duty or anything like that. If you're watching this, you probably know it already. And I'm lazy anyway, so fuck it, we ball. Call of Duty World at War released in 2008 to critical acclaim. Yeah, that's fucking great. Call of Duty World at War released in 2008 to critical acclaim for its excellent story, immersive gameplay, and spooky ass music. For real, the first time I heard the main menu music at the start screen, I knew I was in for something special. The feeling it gave me then still lingers to this day. The image of helmets held up by the weapons of fallen soldiers. Young men and women taken from their homes, shipped out to another part of the world to fight in something bigger than they could ever have imagined. They marched through and died in these lands, with the angel of death singing, brave soldiers, die with me," and bringing them to their final resting place. This song really gets to me. No matter how many times I hear it, it always has an effect on me, and reminds me to appreciate what I have today thanks to these brave soldiers. Now, I actually should say, World at War was not my first Call of Duty. That goes to the first Black Ops. But it kind of feels weird to start there, so while we are starting from the beginning for Zombies as a whole, we're kind of skipping ahead a bit in my own personal journey. Just so we have somewhat of a structure in this whole retrospective. Anyway, by the time I got to World at War, it was 2011. I was but a 9-year-old boy with zero income, so how I got my new games was by renting them at an old local DVD and game rental store called Hollywood Hits. In order for me to actually study for my, at the time, extremely, and honestly to this day, extremely difficult spelling tests, my dad used to bribe me with allowing one game every weekend from Hollywood Hits. So come every Friday, with my 5 out of 5 spelling test in hand, a smiley face sticker on my cheek, I would confidently go into Hollywood Hits and spend 20 minutes deciding what to bring home for the weekend. It was thanks to this shop I got to experience a lot of great games of the 6th generation, be it Halo, Gears of War, Left 4 Dead 2, Red Dead Redemption, Skate 2, and of course, World at War. Unfortunately, that shop is well dead nowadays. However, I do still have a game I rented from there years ago, before they went under, and I still have it to this day. By the time I got to World at War, I was already well into zombies. However, all I had at the time to play was Kino and 5, so I was looking to get my fix of more zombies anywhere I could. When I heard World at War had Zombies 2, I got it as soon as I could. At the time though, I didn't have Xbox Live, or internet for that matter, so I had to play through the campaign before I could even unlock the mode. The joys of living in the Irish countryside in the early 2000s, I suppose. All we had was a dongle that connected the family computer to the cell towers to go online with incredible speeds of up to 1 megabyte a second. Impressive, I know. I actually tried to get online once using the dongle, but I'm still waiting for the match to load to this day. I actually remember the first time booting up the campaign. I was with my dad and we were watching the opening for the first mission. Once that part with the dude's throat getting slit happened, my dad got off the couch. "Ah, Jesus, what the fuck are you playing at all?" and left the room. Leaving me with the game, mind you. So, with the whole campaign to go through, I enlisted the help of my friend Jack. So, we sat ourselves down that Friday night and grinded through the World at War campaign. Several pounds of sweets and a 2-liter of Coke later, and we still hadn't beat the fucking thing. We sucked ass at the game, and we were really struggling to get past Burn Torch and Corkscrew. So eventually we gave up and went to bed. However, in the morning, I woke up with determination to finish the campaign and get my goddamn zombies. God, how awesome is that, man? I envy the people in 2008 who didn't expect nor know what the hell was happening. Imagine the fear and intrigue. You just finished a campaign that's rocked you to the very core, and now you're fighting for your life against a horde of zombified Germans you just spent the better part of 7 hours slaughtering. Lucky bastards. Nacht der Untoten is something out of a nightmare. A hellish abandoned airfield base surrounded by a suffocating fog. It really gives off the vibe of somewhere you would have your last stand. Which is exactly where the inspiration for the mode came from. An old Flash game called The Last End. It was a 2D horde shooter where you had to protect your barrier from zombies. It's the original core gameplay loop Zombies is based off of. Nacht is the perfect transition of that scrapped together little blockade to 3D. The devs really nailed the vibes from day one. Just you, your guns, and your wits. Best of luck. Another thing that helps with Nacht's atmosphere is its size. This map is small. Bloody thing is about the size of my integrity. You got 3 areas. The spawn room, the mystery box room, and upstairs. You can try and hold out in the spawn room, but the guns in there are so fucking useless you may as well be shooting insults at the zombies. Despite it being nearly 2 decades old, World at War's sound design still holds up really well. The guns themselves may not sound super realistic, but each gun has a unique sound to it. My favourites being the Thompson, the MP40, FG42, and of course, the ray gun.
The action, the recoil, the sound!
If you're someone who's new to zombies, I think Nacht is a good place to practice the fundamentals. It's a great map to learn things like training, ammo management, spawn control, and just getting used to the way zombies move toward you. Learning these things will help you in whatever you decide to pursue, be it Easter eggs, high rounds, or just bragging rights about how good you are to everyone. You narcissist. If there's one thing that defines Nacht der Untoten, it's simplicity. No pack-a-punch, no Easter egg quests, and no perks. Hell, there wasn't even any icons for the power-ups. And that's both one of the best and worst things about Nacht. On one hand, this is peak survival horror. There's no safety net, no quick revive, no saves. You either adapt, or you die. And for a first-time experience, that's terrifying in the best way possible. Over the years, zombies became faster, wilder, and way more complicated. But Nacht was raw. The gameplay was stripped down to its absolute core. Just you, a few weapons, and a growing sense of dread. Every round feels like you're barely hanging on, and when you finally went down, there was no second guessing why. You died because you weren't good enough. Let's be real, that's kind of refreshing. No long setups, no hunting for power switches, no running around the map to grab a shopping list of perks and parts before the game really starts. Nacht throws you straight into the fire, no questions asked. It's an instant test of your survival instincts. Reminds me of my first day at high school. But then, there's the other side of the coin. Because as much as Nacht's simplicity is its biggest strength, it's also its biggest downside. The first few games are fine, but it doesn't take many rounds for you to see everything Nacht has to offer. At some point you realize, there's only so much you can do here. So, is Nacht's simplicity a masterpiece of game design, or just a relic of a time when zombies was barely even a mode? Honestly, it's both. It's an experience that's as timeless as it is limited. A perfect starting point, but a brutal place to stay. And that's what makes Nacht der Untoten so fascinating. It's pure, punishing, and endlessly nostalgic. Verrückt is definitely one of my all-time favorite maps. It is everything I love about a good game of zombies. I love the tight layout throughout the whole map. You always need to be on your A game, no matter what strat you're using. You're one cheeky glance at Discord away from getting your cheeks clapped by super sprinters. It's also the only map in the entire series that splits you up from your teammates at the start. 2 players spawn on each side of a blocked door, with nothing to guide you but some writing on the wall. Power will reunite you. Which you'd want to get up and running ASAP because you're stuck with someone whose smartest part of themselves ran down their mother's leg. Verrückt is most famous for its terrifying atmosphere. Nacht was eerie because of its silence. Verrückt is terrifying because of its sound design. The entire game you're serenaded by the sweet, sweet sounds of ear-shattering alarms, the drips of broken pipes, a busted PA system, and someone screaming. It's you. You're the one who's screaming. Speaking of screaming, did you know that if you interact with this chair in the Juggernog room, you can hear someone screaming? I don't know about you, but back when I was younger, people used to say it was meant to be Homer Simpson screaming. To be honest, to this day I still kinda hear it. As previously stated, Verrückt's map layout is very tight and very unique. Every room makes you feel like you're being surrounded all around you. There's nowhere to bunker down and camp. You always gotta be on the run avoiding sprinters, like I avoid the landlord when the rent is due. Both sets of players progress throughout the map parallel to each other to eventually meet up at the power room, where you can hug it out with the homies or call them a bollocks, I don't know, whatever tickles your fancy. The map is one big square, so if you're good enough you can be constantly doing laps around the asylum, which is my personal favourite way to play Verrückt. Some of my fondest gaming memories were playing this map, farming kills with the Gewehr on the early rounds, holding out as long as I could in the MP40 room before hitting the power, grabbing my perks and my trusty Thompson. I remember I used to wait till round 20 to play the Easter egg song. And you know when that song's playing, it's time to lock the fuck in. With a new map came new mechanics. Power, perks, and traps. No, not those kinds. The 4 perks introduced were Juggernog, Speed Cola, Double Tap, and Quick Revive. Which does nothing on solo, because that makes sense. Our first ever trap to use, no, not that kind either! A lovely case of electroshock therapy that zaps anything that passes through its doors, including degenerates like you. Overall, Verrückt is just one of those maps I think is just neat. I have a lot of great memories playing solo and with my buddies. It was a stepping stone in creating the staple zombies formula that will be used for years to come. Fuck this map. Moving on. Okay, not really. But Shi No Numa is just one of those maps that never really clicked with me. However, it added something very important. Shi No Numa was the map that truly began the lore. Throughout the map you can find radios that give us little tidbits into how the zombies came to be. You know, I don't understand why a lot of people complain about how in modern zombies most of the story is told through intel. Has everyone forgotten that this is how it's been from day one? We were lucky to get so much as a crumb of lore per map back in the day. The way the zombie storyline has been told throughout the years has always been my favourite thing about it. All these little pieces of story sprinkled throughout the games, and we're the ones who had to put the pieces together to try and complete the whole puzzle. It was also in this map we were introduced to the boys, Tank Dempsey, Nikolai Belinsky, Takeo Masaki, and the man, the myth, the menace to the entire multiverse, Edward Richtofen. If it weren't for how funny these guys were, I don't think I would have ever gotten into zombies as much as I did. There was just something about the way they carried themselves and said the most outlandish, out-of-pocket lines when doing something mundane. These 4 are my fucking goats, and it was from loving impersonating them that I got into the world of voice acting. It's been a passion of mine for years, and it all started with trying to imitate Nikolai to make my friends laugh. With Shi No Numa came the Wunderwaffe DG2, our first new wonder weapon, that fires an electrical bolt that chains between the zombies, instantly cooking up to 10 enemies per shot. And the dogs. Holy hell, man, the dogs in World at War are scary. To this day, I still wee a little every time I hear.
Fetch me their souls!
Why are they so fast? Leave me alone! We also got the Flogger. Yep. With 3 maps under their belt, Treyarch was cooking with this formula for zombies. Although, they were missing something. Now we're cooking with oil, boys! Riese is the perfect baseline zombies map. It took everything that was working so far and added the final piece of the puzzle to make zombies something special. Character progression. The Pack-a-Punch killed 2 birds with 1 stone. It encouraged players to explore the map and find the teleporters. It also gave them a challenge of map knowledge and how to get back to spawn as fast as possible, as the teleporters had a time limit. Then after doing that, you unlock the ability to permanently upgrade your gun for the game for a steep 5,000 points. Let me ask you a question. Do you remember the first time you pack-a-punched a gun? I do. I pack-a-punched the MPL and Kino. But of course I got teleported away from the pack room before I could grab it. I was not a happy boy. So not only did I lose my gun, I also only had an M14, so I got swarmed straight away and died as soon as I teleported back. Do tell if you have any funny stories like that, I love to read them. I think one of Riese's best qualities is how diverse all the map's key locations are. GeoGuessr would go hard as fuck on this map. It also has one of the best camping spots of all time, the catwalk. With Riese there wasn't all too many new mechanics added besides the ones mentioned previously. Though we did get the monkey bombs, a secondary that lured zombies to it for 7 seconds before blowing itself up. What a legend. I think instead of focusing on adding new things, they decided to really focus on perfecting the zombies formula, which was the right call in my book. To this day, Riese is seen as one of the best maps ever made, and for the time I think it deserves that reputation to this day. You know a good game is in order when the boys boot up Riese. The story contained within Riese was also really good. It's honestly amazing how much interesting info was cramped into 8 tiny recordings. In this map we were introduced to Samantha and Ludwig Maxis, 2 key players in the overarching story. Little fun fact for you, people used to say they could hear the zombies saying Sam when trying to hit you. They theorized that the person in control of the zombies was named or had something to do with a person called Sam. Treyarch rolled with this and gave us the big bad of the early Ether storyline, the little lost girl, Samantha Maxis. Within the audio logs, we got to witness the founding of Group 935, their struggles to obtain funding, relatable. We got the origin of Fluffy and how her offspring became the Hellhounds. We heard some of the first field tests to control the undead horde, and the ensuing chaos that came after with the attempted murder of the Maxis family. I wonder where we'll go from here. World at War Zombies is a product of its time. That can't be denied. It's got a lot of issues, it's really buggy, and it leads to a lot of frustration at times. There's just something about it though that I really enjoy. I guess I just enjoy things that have a bit of scrappiness to them. That's why I'm a Sonic fan. For something that was made in developers' spare time, you gotta give credit where it's due. Sure, it's buggy, clunky, and a bit ugly, but it's got so much love and passion in it I can't help but come back to it from time to time and reminisce about the early days of zombies. But it's time to move on. In the next part of this retrospective, we're going to get into the real nitty-gritty as we discuss and look back on my personal favourite COD, Black Ops 1. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Hopefully my own little stories triggered some in your own head. I'd love to hear them in the comments. Any memory at all, post it down below, and while you're there, feel free to like and subscribe if you'd like, to see more content like this in the future. Till I meet you again, grab life by the plums.